Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Sunrise Extra. I'm coming to you this morning from our studio, main studios, 15th and Jefferson. You see Brenda Braxton. Hopefully, Brenda, everyone who watches the show knows exactly who you are. And then we have two other women joining us this morning for Sunrise Extra. I'm going to introduce you to right here and right now. So as I say your name, and I want to make sure I get your salons correct as well, the name of your salons. Raise your hand, please, as I introduce you. We have Katie Pattison. She's a stylist and also the manager at Rock Paper Scissors Salon on Hawthorne Boulevard in Southeast Portland. So we say good morning for starters to you, Katie. And then next to her then would be Nicola Coral. Nicola, good morning again. Nicola is the owner and stylist at Sweetheart Salon on Division Street in Southeast Portland. So there you have it, our two stylists that are joining us this morning. And the reason we have the two of you joining us, it's very interesting to us that as we get set to reopen here in the state of Oregon and counties are applying for reopening, phase one calls for the opening of salons like yours. And you two are part of a group of stylists that are saying to Governor Brown, we do not want to reopen during phase one. So I'll start the first question with you, Katie, and just ask you quite simply, why do you not want to reopen when we get into phase one?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, we've all been following what's been going on. Governor Brown has been fairly quiet about what her plan has been. And by all accounts in the news, it sounded like Oregon and California had been in a pact that we were going to open in the same time and in the same kind of way. So I think a lot of us were really surprised when we heard that we were being included in phase one. I was under the assumption we would probably follow California's lead and that salons, personal care services would be included in the final phases because logically, to me, that makes sense. When we start opening back up the economy and other sectors of business, it makes more sense, in my opinion, to start with businesses that are able to practice social distancing. And that is something in our field we simply cannot do our job and social distance at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be impossible. Cuts, colors, all that stuff. I mean, we're super close when we go into a salon. Nicola, let me bring you in and then ask you, because you own your salon, what changes would you have to make if you were going to reopen, and you will at some point in the future, but what all would you have to do?
If we were going to reopen during phase one, we'd have to make a lot of changes. We'd be operating not at full capacity. We're lucky that we're a small salon and we have maybe a little bit more room around stations than some people. Some people are going to be operating at 50% capacity. We're definitely going to be operating at 2/3 capacity. We also are going to have to make sure that we have questionnaires ready to ask people how they're feeling, like whether they have any symptoms of COVID-19. It's been recommended that we should take people's temperature on the way in, that we should take our own temperature, that we keep records of all of those clients coming in and out for 60 days. We're also being told to wear face masks and gloves and increase our sanitation a lot. We're also being recommended to wear face shields. We're being told to change our clothes after every client if we can't wear a clean smock, to change our clothes before we go home, to do full sanitation in between every client, to tell our clients that they can't come into the salon to wait. It's a lot. And to be quite frank, it seems unsustainable. First of all, as businesses, we're going to be operating at a deficit. We already have been out of work for 8 weeks and we haven't received any unemployment benefits, and many people haven't received loans or grants. And now we're being asked to spend money on things that are almost impossible to find. And it's also not clear if hospitals have enough. We're being asked to use hospital grade PPE. And as far as I know, hospitals are still in a shortage. It doesn't seem very sensible.
Those are all great points. Real quickly, we just showed this on the screen a moment ago, and we can bring it up again because we were showing to our viewers here on Sunrise Extra the strict requirements that you would have to follow. As a salon owner, you would have to follow these requirements under phase one. We're putting them back up on the screen again. Here they are. Among them, you have to wear PPE. You have to space your clients out at least by 6 feet. You have to limit the number of people inside a space. And it also says that you have to screen clients before they come in. So I'll ask you, Katie, what can you tell us about this screening process? I mean, how thorough is that process supposed to be as far as you understand it?
As far as I understand it, we're supposed to screen the way that a triage nurse would screen someone when they come in, taking their temperature, finding out if they have any symptoms. We're supposed to keep records of people's personal information, including these medical stats when they come in, so that we can keep it on file to track in case any cases come up with any of our clients, which brings up a whole other question for our industry is what is the liability on us if, you know, following all of these sanitation practices, gathering medical information, what liability will we have if someone believes that they've contracted COVID through our salon? I don't think there's any sort of precedent set. I don't think any of our insurance companies really know how to handle that. And so that's a big concern for us as well. On top of just keeping track of people's medical information, you know, we're not medical professionals, we're hairstylists, and we have very high sanitation standards that are regulated through the state as a regular basis. But I believe this just goes above and beyond. And the truth is that if we're expected to do all of this, you know, why put us in phase one? If we're at this much risk and we're putting our community in this much risk, why are we as hands-on service providers being the test pilots for reopening our state?
One of the reasons that we really wanted to have you two on is that we have given a lot of coverage to hair salons and hairdressers who do want to reopen. There was one in Salem, and this woman opened her salon despite the stay-at-home order, and a lot of people came out to support her. And, you know, she and her supporters were making the point, I can take care of one client at a time, clean, do social distancing, I mean, to some degree, among all her group of people. But she was like, you know, it's more risk to go into the grocery store than into my salon. So Nicola, let me start with you. Katie, after she gets done, please weigh in as well. What do you make of the other side's argument that they really need to feed their families, they really need to kind of ease this financial impact, and they think it's safe to reopen? Nicola, go ahead.
Well, everybody needs to feed their families. I completely understand their, oh, thank you. Everybody needs to feed their families. I absolutely understand their position. I mean, that lady in Salem said herself, she needed to put food on the table. It makes perfect sense to me. But saying that you can take care of a client and social distance is literally a contradiction in terms. When was the last time that you had your hair cut and your hairstylist didn't touch you for the entire time? I think that a lot of people are motivated by the financial instability that we're under. Many stylists haven't received any kind of unemployment. Many stylists haven't received any kind of loans that we were promised 7-8 weeks ago. I completely understand their position, but I also feel like it's literally not possible. You cannot do someone's hair and not touch them. And is that not the definition of non-social distancing? Social distancing implies that we're further away. If our clients are far apart, it doesn't make that much difference. They sit with us for about an hour and they leave. They go to the grocery store, they go to their families, and then someone else comes and sits in our chair. And even though we do extensive sanitation, we can't promise that we're not asymptomatic. We're not getting tested. They can't promise that they're not asymptomatic. We could all be going out and spreading the disease in exactly, or spreading the virus rather, in exactly the way that we know that it spreads.
I'm going to give you you ladies a choice here. Nicola and Katie, first person who says me can have this next question. I'm asking which one of you wants to be on the hot seat right now. I'm going to put one of you on the hot seat.
I'll be on the hot seat.
Okay, all right, you ready? Was that Katie who said I'll be on the hot seat?
Yes.
Okay, here we go, Katie, because we're hearing from viewers as well right now on our Facebook feed. And one of the viewers who commented was a viewer named Abdul Jones, who says, guess what? You're not obligated to reopen. So therefore, he's asking, what is the problem here? He doesn't understand the issue if you don't have to reopen unless you really want to. How do you respond to Abdul Jones?
Well, my response to that is that just what Nicola said, none of us have gotten unemployment. None of us have gotten PPPs. I also have been living off my savings, off of credit cards, trying to put food on my table. But I still am against us being in phase one because, if they put us in phase one, then the stylists that choose not to open will be unable to file for unemployment. Now, I understand we haven't received unemployment yet, but I think we're all on good faith that we will at some point receive unemployment. So if half the salons open and other people choose, like us, choose to stay closed because we believe it's socially responsible, we won't have benefits. We won't have access to any benefits. We will have to be paying our rents and our overheads and things that may have been temporarily suspended for us during this period of time. And so it really isn't a choice. We're going to have to go back on top of just, the fact that there will be salons. I like to think my clients will wait for me, but I also think it's going to create some issues in our market as well, with some salons opening and people trying to rush to get their hair done and other people deciding to wait and do the responsible thing. It just doesn't seem feasible. It seems like we either all need to open or we need to wait it out until the final phases.
Yeah, so as you heard.
It doesn't really feel like a choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead,
agree.
Nicola.
I was just going to say, it doesn't really feel like a choice. We're being faced with the choice of, do you try to keep people safe or do you put food on your table? We're continuing to pay rent in this salon and we still have bills. And so saying that we have a choice, if you can talk to my mortgage company for me, great. It doesn't feel like a choice to us at this point. It feels like we have to go back if they say that we have to go back. It's not that easy. The financial part of it makes it impossible for many, many people, which is the reason that lady in Salem opened up already.
So have you heard anything from Salem, from the governor's people, or on behalf of lobbying groups from your industry, individual hairdressers? Are people listening to these concerns? Nicola, is there any chance that some of your issues will be raised and that there will be accommodations made? Or is it just going to be a done deal for this phase one reopening?
Honestly, it's very difficult to say. That's why we're talking to you. I have to say that we haven't heard very much from our elected officials or our legislators. Multnomah County Chair said that they're going to raise our issue at their meeting, but we've heard from other people that it's a done deal. There's nothing we can do. It is what it is. We've written to Kate Brown, we've written to Jeff Merkley, we've written to the health authority, we've written to everybody we can think of. And honestly, very few people have given us a reply that is more than a form letter, which is why we chose to do the petition, which is why we chose to talk to you guys and talk to other news outlets, because it feels like this is a very real concern for the safety of the community at large. Because that's the thing, it's not just you and your client in your chair. Everybody then goes out and continues to live your life. And whether or not you say it's unsafe to go to the grocery store or it's safer in the salon, you're not touching your grocery clerk or anybody else in the grocery store for an hour at a time. So we're just hoping to make some noise so that people will pay attention and think about the dangers that are here. Fauci said yesterday that opening America too early could cause needless death and suffering. And I'm paraphrasing there, but that's what we're worried about. It's not just us, it's not just our finances, it's the community at large. It's already devastated America. More people have died in the past few months than died in the Vietnam War. That's very concerning.
I think both of you have done a great job of explaining your position, and I know a lot of people weighing in aren't in your shoes. They're not business owners necessarily. They don't own their own salon necessarily. So I think it's really great to hear from you two and to hear the position that you're coming from. I was curious, and I don't know if you've done the math, if this even matters really to you, but would opening up and having a limited number of clients allowed into your salon at a given time, would it actually cost more under those circumstances to open up? Or could you actually still make money even if you were limited to a few number of people at a given time?
I'm actually really glad you asked that because, as Nicola said earlier, we would be running at a smaller capacity. A lot of our salons here are fairly small. We pack a lot of stations into a fairly small space. The requirements would require us essentially to change the way we schedule, limit the amount of stylists we have in the salon. We would have to lengthen appointment times. Not just so that we could take the extra time to be with our clients who already are overdue for haircuts and are probably going to need a little more of our time anyways, but also the extra sanitation that's going to go on. And then on top of all of that, the extra money that we're going to be spending on the PPE. I've done some of my own research. I've seen what other people have been looking into. Just last night, I read a local hairstylist here said that she did the math and it was going to cost her about $200 a day just for the PPE and the extra tools that need to be sanitized so that she can swap out between clients. And this, at the operating at partial capacity, we're talking about maybe seeing a half, if maybe even a third of the clients we would normally see with the same amount of overhead for our business on top of the PPE.
Okay, ladies, this is
so
going
we would
to
be running an essentially deficit probably.
Ladies, this is going to be for both of you because I'm really interested to hear each of your perspectives. You work at different salons. Nicola, I'll start with you though. What will it take for you to feel safe to open again and to bring clients into your salon?
I would like to see businesses that can practice social distancing, who don't have as much personal contact, be the ones to open in phase 1 and see what happens. I mean, obviously there's so much about this virus that we don't know. We're learning day by day, and I'm a hairdresser. I'm not a doctor, but every day we hear more alarming things. And so I think that to give it more time to honestly see what happens. Georgia opened already. They have more cases than us. We don't really know what's going to happen. And they're putting hairstylists right into the fray, throwing them like lions or throwing them like, into the ring. But I would say for me, I'd like to have a better idea what happens when businesses that are not involved in personal touch and personal contact are open for a few weeks, just to see what happens. It just seems like the most sensible way to go.
I know we have to let you both go.
I agree with Nicola.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to ask you, Katie, if you could chime in before we let you go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I agree with everything Nicholas said. I want to go back to work as bad as everybody else does. I just want to see how it plays out a little bit. Once we start opening things up, I don't think that we need to be thrown in as test pilots in the very beginning. And so I would just like to see what happens. And our salon has even talked about giving it a couple of weeks, even if we are forced into phase 1, just to see how it plays out if we're able to do that.
Katie, was there anything else, because we are going to let the two of you go, but we're letting this be your forum right now. Was there anything else that you wanted to say while we have this opportunity?
I guess really the point is that as much as we want our clients to feel like we are essential to their lives, we are not essential. We are a luxury. We are personal care services, and we can wait. And really what we really need is our government to get us our unemployment that we've been so patiently waiting for, so that we don't have to make a decision based on financial desperation, and that we can base it off of logic and social responsibility.
Nicola, any final thoughts?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I mean, I don't know that I can say it any better than that, to be honest. It's about taking responsibility for your community. It's about taking responsibility for people beyond yourself. There's no way to deny that we're all connected. This virus has shown us that. We have to act that way. We have to be responsible, because the consequences could be devastating. They already are devastating, and it could get worse.
We really do appreciate you joining us here today.
Yes,
Brenda,
do.
I don't know if you have any final words. I want to plug their business, of course, one more time before we say goodbye.
No, that's all I was going to say is you guys have been amazing spokespeople for your point of view. This is uncharted territory for everybody. We so appreciate you joining us.
Not that they're open right now, of course, but when they do reopen, you can check out Katie. She is the stylist and manager at Rock, Paper, Scissors Salon on Hawthorne Boulevard in Southeast Portland. And Nicola, thank you again for joining us. She is the owner and stylist at Sweetheart Salon on Division Street also in Southeast Portland. You both were terrific. We really appreciate your time today on Sunrise Extra.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.